dancing over there?
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Happy Sunday. I know. Hey, y'all. Happy Sunday, and welcome to the Preacher After Show here at the Stream.tv. I'm your host, Jocelyn Polite, and I am joined by my fellow members of the congregation and amazing co-host over here to my right.
I am Kiyra Lynn, and you guys, I am on YouTube chat, so please join us on the chat. We will be answering any questions, any comments, but let's slide it over there.
And to my left.
Hey everybody, I'm Timothy Michael, and I'm going to be on Twitter, so tweet us your questions, tweet us your thoughts. This episode was on fire using the hashtag PreacherAS at PreacherFanShow. This episode is amazing.
So far, 2 episodes in, it's giving me life, it's giving me everything that I want. It's going to be an awesome summer. I love it. It's giving me all of it.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, how many times in the scenes did all 3 of us, while we were watching, went, oh my gosh?
No, but seriously, and people on Twitter are kind of infuriated that Preacher isn't trending because it's like, this show is so good.
I know.
I mean, I haven't had a show that was this, like,
intense.
Juicy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good.
But
it's so good.
is definitely pushing it really hard. But I think, it's like anything, it's going to be a slow roll.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But I love it. It has a lot of energy to me. I'm in for the full-blown ride. And speaking of ride, we started with a man on a journey.
Yes.
And a sick child. So he is on a journey to help this child, and what a journey it is. He seems kind of mean.
Yeah, he's not a man of many words.
No, he's pretty quiet. This is what interests me though when shows do this whole like flashback thing. Sometimes it kind of loses me. I'm hoping that Preacher doesn't do that because it was only literally like what, a 4-minute scene, and it really didn't answer any questions. It gave us more questions, which is great.
It flashed back to
1881.
1881. Okay.
Yeah. So,
I think it was just a bit of a teaser of something that is to come.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it didn't really give us. I thought that later on in the episode we were going to go back to him because he rode off into the town of Ratwater.
Right.
And I thought that maybe we would get back to it.
Oh, you know what? Maybe this 1881 flashback is where what Anvil used to look like. So maybe this is what Anvil used to look like. Because remember in the first episode, they had that Ratwater kind of alcohol that Jesse was drinking. So maybe this is like what Anvil looks like now, but that's what it looked like before.
So you're saying that like Ratwater used to be, Anvil now used to be what was called Ratwater then.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
Okay, but I just have to say, and you know how much I love the grotesque parts when.
Oh.
Hi everyone.
Gore.
When he was towards the end of that whole scene where he's on his horse and he's like going into the town of Ratwater. And then you just see these things floating on the trees. At first, I didn't know what that exactly was. And then you just see it's like bodies of Indians.
That are scalped.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought it was animals at first because in the beginning they were showing the carcasses of animals. And I thought like, oh, somebody, hung some animals from a tree. And then I look again and I'm like, those are people, and then they're Indians and they're scalps, and I'm like, whoa, what does all of this mean?
Which kind of brings us back, or I want to just touch on how, they were over in the fire, and that father and son, they were trying to talk to this dude who doesn't have a name, and the little boy was like, Dad, ask them about the Indians. And then all of a sudden we've got a tree full of Indians.
I'm not very good with history. This is why I'm on an after show. But 1881, was that, I guess that's when settlers were moving from the east to the west and they were taking over like Indian territory, I guess.
Right.
And then why are they scalped though? That was freaky.
It was freaky.
Is that like a dehumanizing?
It was the battle of all that, and I think that Indians, and I could be wrong because I am not a history teacher, but I'm assuming that Indians possibly with the hair and everything that the Indian culture at that time, Native American culture represented and everything, to scalp them, their hair meant something to them, and it was very cultural and spiritual. So to take that from them meant something.
Thank you. So, I'm just asking because maybe it might come up in the future.
Exactly.
So very interesting.
So that was an interesting beginning, and then we went into Deblanc and Fiori, who are the 2 men that are hunting Jesse.
With the cowboy hats.
And these like that don't look like they belong in cowboy hats like at all. They look like they should be in a 3-piece suit. Like they really do. But they're looking for them, and it was really interesting the way that they found him, and the music and this whole thing of exercising him with a tin can.
Well, I mean, with this whole song, because we end up watching the show with the closed caption on, you know. But so I was reading the lyrics of what they were saying, and I was like, is this some sort of like exorcism that's kind of going on with the tin can? But I love that whole like that little music box that they were using.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a step back for just a second when they showed them in the hotel room. And you know, I don't like it when people degrade like housekeepers or people who like live a life of like service. I just bothers me. And when she was sitting there, she's like, "Buenos tardes, like, do you want one towel or two?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "Okay, I'm just asking." I don't like that. So I don't like these guys.
Well, they're mean. I mean, they're meant to be like really mean guys. I mean, they're you know, we don't know why, but they're definitely not good guys, and we saw that, you know, obviously a little later, but I wasn't expecting them to break out in the song, and I thought that was just a really interesting way to try to exercise whatever it is that they're trying to get out of him.
Yeah,
you know?
It was very, you know, when you see in these old cartoons when they play telephone, that's the first thing I was like, what is going on
And
here?
I couldn't even imagine, thank God we have gotten past the days where we got to do this to party. Could you imagine? Like, it's just, that would be awful. But so just quickly, I wanted to move over before we get to that amazing fight scene. I wanted to move over to Jesse and Cassidy's conversation, because this really was we got a peek into Cassidy's life and who Cassidy was. And I know we talked a little bit last week about who's Cassidy and what's his backstory, and it seems like it would be really interesting to find out who he was. And you know, we got some information.
We've all established that we all love Cassidy last week.
Yes.
So, and in this episode, we find out that he is a 119-year-old vampire from Dublin. And then who is it that's chasing him again?
These religious
vigilantes or something.
Yeah, these religious vampire hunters.
My question, though, is, you know, they were having this conversation, you know, and does Jesse really understand that Cassidy is a vampire? Because, you know, sometimes people just say, like, stupid shit, and you're like, oh. So I'm wondering if, you know, Cassidy was just like, oh, by the way, yeah, I'm 119.
That's true.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think this just goes based off of Cassidy and Jesse's relationship from the episode 1, where they were like sitting in the jail cell, and then he was like shooting the whatever about just hope and all this stuff. And Cassidy is just a man who just says whatever comes to his mind. And I feel like Jesse doesn't take him seriously.
Yeah.
So Cassidy told him the truth, but I don't think he believes it.
No, he definitely didn't believe him. And I mean, but who would? I mean, you know, if I sat here and I told you, you know what, we've been on this after show together, but I'm a vampire. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, that's nice. And especially if we're drinking. Are you kidding? I mean, they were like drinking and stuff. And then, by the way, what the hell kind of drink was that Jesse got that knocked his ass out?
Rubbing
for as
alcohol.
long?
An air conditioner fluid.
Air conditioning fluid.
Moonshine. It was moonshine.
Man.
But I just thought that their conversation was really good, because we did get some backstory, and we did get to see their relationship develop.
Yeah.
And the way that it developed was that Cassidy saved Jesse's life.
Right.
So, you know, Jesse was going to get it with a chainsaw.
But he is completely unaware how Cassidy has essentially saved his life. Like, Cassidy completely, like, cleaned it all up. And, yeah, he has no clue.
None at all. And Cassidy, the way that he did it, another great fight scene for this series, because, you know, they've been killing it with the fight scenes, and this one was really good, and the whole, like, arm going down the aisle, you know, with the chainsaw.
That was the part where we were like, oh my gosh, what the hell is going on here?
We were screaming at the TV. It was no, it was a good one. It was a good fight scene, and then we got to see him heal the way that a vampire is able to heal and everything like that. So I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it again.
It's funny because, you know, I was wondering, we know as an audience that Cassidy is a vampire, but, you know, he's drinking all the time, and I was kind of wondering, is it that, because in episode 1, we saw that he'd fallen out of the plane and he grabbed that cow and drank the cow to death, if the drinking the blood is how he heals. So I'm wondering if that's how they're laying out his vampire story.
Well, I mean, in vampire folklore, that's usually how they heal in general. So I guess they're sticking to that.
Okay.
Clearly, they're not sticking to the whole allergic to crosses and he can go in a church and holy water doesn't work on him. So they're deviating from that. But I do love the relationships that Cassidy's establishing with everybody else in the town, not just Jesse. Like this girl Emily, the organ player, that has this huge crush on Jesse.
I'm so bored with her.
See, here's the thing, and I'm gonna say it because we felt the same way on other after shows about certain characters. I feel like she's gonna. I mean, she's a little annoying right now, but I feel like she's gonna have this bigger role in the future. But she is all up in his jock.
She loves Jesse.
She is
and-
obsessed with him.
Right, and absolutely hates Tulip, which we want to get to because Tulip, first of all, let me say that Tulip is like the girl, the hidden girl that we all want to be, but we all have to get up and go to work and raise kids. You know what I'm saying? But Tulip is like that girl that we just want to be so badass. But Tulip showed up to be baptized, you
Yes.
know, baptized by Jesse, and Emily was pissed at that because
Right.
here comes Tulip again, and you know, just like, who is this like sexy chick that shows up with like a midriff shirt to be baptized?
Oh man, she has the best lines.
Yeah, she does.
Yes,
She
she
does.
does.
She
She's
does
got a
have
really
those
great role, and she's killing it in this role. She really is. Ruth Negga, she's killing it in this
Yeah.
role. But the baptism was interesting because Jesse, as a preacher, didn't seem into it at all. I mean, he just seemed like he could have cared less about, like, okay, you take, you know, Jesus Christ as your holy, so okay, next. And I mean, his whole thing was just kind of like, he's so not into being a preacher right now.
But what I loved about when he was baptizing her, and she's full on like submerged under the water, and she's just smiling. I mean, I just love this character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest thing about Ruth Negga's character Tulip is that she keeps asking Jesse to do this job. Like the whole
Yes.
reason she went to the baptism in the first place was to bring up this whole, there's this job that we have to do, and he keeps saying no. So it's like,
She wants to pull him back into whatever you know they're doing. I mean, whatever it is that she's trying to get him to do, she wants to pull him in.
And I keep saying this. I kept saying this to you guys while we were watching Monk. What the hell did they used to do?
Right.
They're still not talking about what this job is.
Right.
So I'm wondering how long they're gonna how they're gonna keep stringing us along, and when they're gonna let.
But
that
don't you think
unfold.
that makes it interesting, though?
no, but here's the thing. I think that toward the end of this episode, I feel like, because after their conversation, after she had like chained him up and stuff like that, and she said to him, there is a mean, bad man inside of you, and it's just waiting to come out, and that's what I'm waiting for. And I'm going to keep asking you until that big, mean man comes out, and then you're going to say yes. And then when Eugene came to see him, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but just to put Tulip into context, when Eugene came to see him at his church, and he said, you know, I don't hear God anymore, but maybe this is how God wants me to be. I think that rang a little bit with Jesse, and that's why he went after Linus at his house. And that's why he showed his big man, mean colors again.
bad
so I think the
man.
next episode, I think
We're getting more from who he is, and
Yeah.
we're learning more about him, and we're definitely going to get to discussing him. But one thing, the scene that I loved in this was Tulip in the whorehouse playing Texas Hold'em. Just such a badass scene. She was like killing, you know, getting everybody, taking their money and everything like that, and you know, this whole like Texas whorehouse, so typical. That was
I was
actually
like, do
pretty
these still
funny.
exist? Do those exist?
Well,
Let's go to Texas. Let's
it's the
find out.
oldest profession.
Fans
so
from
I
Texas,
mean,
like hashtag preacher AS, because I need to know. I need to know.
we've got the Bunny Ranch in Nevada, so yeah,
That's
you
true.
know that
That's
they have
true.
that there. So
That's true.
yeah, so I'm sure they still exist. But she got a room so that she could take Jesse hostage or pretend hostage.
You know what I love? This is completely off topic, but like the writers have a sense of humor. Like,
Yes.
When,
Well, Seth Rogen, of course, he has a sense
course.
of humor.
And how, you know, Jesse wakes up and, you know, he's like locked in this room, and all of a sudden you just see that like it was a Star Wars mask, wasn't it? Like it just pop out from the thing. And then there's, you know, in that conversation between Jesse and Cassidy, how they're talking about how they either love or hate the Big Lebowski. I just find that really cute.
No, I know. They're
yeah.
putting in all this stuff that makes it humorous, and that's what I love about it, because I laughed during this episode. I mean, I cracked up a whole lot. You guys
Yeah.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
like, I'm either screaming or laughing. One of the
Covering
two.
your face,
Covering my face.
something.
But I laughed during this whole episode, and I love that, like, Seth Rogen, that they're putting the humor into this and just making it funny and gory and interesting, and, you know, there's something to follow and suspenseful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. All right, well, Tulip, we went from her to this. Okay, so one thing that I was confused about, and my co-hosts are going to help me with that, was what in TF is the Q, M, and P? That whole thing was like really confusing to me, because I know that we had the demolition and the house and the
So it
people
was
selling their
that
house.
bald guy, and the actor that I was like, the actor that plays the new Freddy Krueger, you know, and he's sitting there, and it looks like he's got these documents, and he's got this couple in front of him, and you know, all those people behind him, and they sign the documents, and next thing you know, everything just gets demolished. Like within like 2 seconds, they're taking all of the furniture away, and then you just see that truck plow through.
Right.
And then you cut to the truck, and it took us for a little bit to realize that the guy with the arm was, what's his name?
Donnie.
Donnie. And 10 Timothy was the one that
Yeah.
brought this all up.
Yeah,
that it was-
because I mean, when they were standing inside the house, I guess convincing this couple who didn't look happy about having to give up their home, when Donnie had this arm and he like dropped his pen and this guy like picked it up and everybody was like, "Oh, why you pick up the pen?" And I was like, "What's the big deal? He's trying to help the guy out." And then they go to the truck and he like pushes this guy's face into the steering wheel, breaking his nose and then smashing his nose. I was like, "What is happening?" And I was like, "This guy has issues." And then I was like, "That's Donnie. Like that's the guy who beats his wife in the last episode."
and all of us just went, what the F is
Yeah.
going on
Especially
here?
the part where the horn kept honking, and, you know, the horn was going off, and then he just used his face again to like shut it off.
No,
mean,
I
it
think
was-
my favorite part was when he like did all that, and then he like looked back at the guys, and they were all like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna look. Don't make eye contact."
Well, again, I'm so thankful to have Tim. We are so happy because honestly, like I know it was a dingback moment for me because I thought it was a commercial. So I was like sitting there like, oh, this is interesting. Like what are, you know, what kind of like home improvement situation is it? So I'm glad that it ended up being
and
something.
I think that
so.
I mean I think that scene was a big scene because I feel like this just establishes how unstable Donnie really is and how angry he is, whatever
Right.
anger issues he has. But I think that's going to cause a lot more trouble in the future. Because I mean, if somebody broke my arm and had me make a bunny noise, I would definitely be wanting revenge.
Right,
So
absolutely.
I think you're right. I think this is going to establish that we are going to see a lot more of Donnie
Yeah.
in the upcoming episodes.
I agree. And Jesse, no, poor dear Jesse, trying to raise money in front of the supermarket.
With Emily, his girl crush.
With Emily, right, exactly, in her name tag. And I mean, it's just, this church is so sad. You know what I mean? It just is. It needs a coat of paint. It needs like more parishioners.
Oh, man.
It's just the saddest church. and
They got a
he's
cappuccino
trying.
machine.
That
Yes.
she can't work. It's like the most
She just
ridiculous
has to
thing.
know how to put the steamer inside of the
Coming
thing.
from a girl that went to 12 years of Catholic school, you don't ask for suggestions on how to make your church better at the local grocery store. I'm like, that is pathetic. I'm like, what are they doing? Yeah. Like, no.
You do an anvil.
That's true. I mean, but I do want to put into just take a little step back because I know how you're saying this church is a hot mess, but I mean Jesse is trying to be
Yeah.
a better preacher, and he did take a confessional from this guy named Linus who kind of established that he had these kind of pedophile feelings toward this little girl on his school bus because he drives a school bus. Great background checks there, people. I mean, they are in a little small town, so I don't really wouldn't expect anything else. But it's like at least he's trying,
Right.
And then he
No,
keeps
he is.
seeing this school bus, and at the grocery store, he once again sees the school bus, which brings us to we'll talk about it. but-
Exactly. So yeah, well, he sees the school bus, which I thought was creepy anyway. It's just racing through like certain scenes, but that was interesting. But Jesse, I think, just getting into the fact that Jesse, does he realize now what his power is? You know, because even with this guy with the school bus, you know, where he gave him a second baptism.
Yes.
You know, in the bathtub with hot water and was like, you know, but he really got to. That thing happened to him where it blew him back.
Yeah,
And it
we
was
had
just
to
like,
rewind it because we're
Yeah.
like, what in the world happened? Like, did we just miss something? And, you know, it was just like a shock. And next thing you know, Jesse's like pushed back into the bathroom door and it was like you could see it on his face. What the hell happened?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think, like we were saying, he realized, you know, the power that he has. He saw, because he was telling her, forget about that girl. You know what I mean? And it's just like, there it is. Because the last time we left Jesse, he just got hit with that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this time we're seeing that, whoa, he's really realizing that he has some influence.
Well, it's interesting because in the pilot episode, the way that we know whatever power this is working is when like the sound is all getting distorted and stuff like that. So they're keeping that continuity in this episode, which I'm glad they are because then otherwise we wouldn't really know when what he is saying is really affecting the people that he's talking to.
Right.
Correct.
So it's interesting to me that's the way that they used that method to clarify.
But
what's
I just want to
happening.
bring up a point because, you know, I think this might be the when Jesse actually realizes he has this power because they do slightly talk about Ted and like breaking open his heart and
Yeah.
and how he, you know, died, but they never actually bring it back to Jesse understanding what his words actually meant. So this is actually the first time that he's really establishing that, oh crap, like what I've said actually takes effect, and then we see how the episode progresses.
Well, I love it, and just like you're saying, and I love that he is realizing that because it's giving him a second wind as a preacher. You know, because it was almost like for a second he thought, well, maybe I'll be this preacher of justice, you know, and go after possibly this pedophile guy, you know, that's going, you know, trying to get at these girls and, you know, just seek some justice that way. But I think when he realized the power that he had, it's like, oh, okay, I'm thinking that possibly going forward that this is going to reignite, you know, who he is as a preacher, and we saw that when he went to the home of the girl that's unconscious and
Who
you
had
know,
a
tries
big
to-
piece of her skull missing.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that scene for a second? Because that wasn't actually, it was actually a really powerful scene because Emily, his girl crush, is all about him going to the Loaches' house and she like makes this casserole for him after he like gets knocked out by Cassidy's drink, and he goes there and he's giving this mom this really great, I thought it was a really great speech on how, you know, the light of the Lord is going to come to you one day and it's going to like tell you something, and she was like, well, those are just words. And I was like, I feel like this entire community has lost their faith.
Absolutely.
Not just him. And I feel like after he left, like nothing was going to change. So this whole him realizing his power and getting, I don't even know what to call it. I guess the word.
The word.
Yeah, let's just call
Right.
it the word. He's got
Right.
the power of the word. He goes back to this woman's house and he like wants to pray over this girl, and he uses his power to.
And you said something that really just hit me right now because you said this town has lost a lot of their faith, which I'm assuming has to do with the opening of what happened in Ratwater. Something happened there where something happened in this town. And I have no idea what that is, but I'm assuming that maybe we'll get a backstory on that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And we were looking for more of that. But there's something that happened in this town that hit it hard. And why are people missing? So, I mean, what's his name? The boy with the butt face?
Butt face.
Butt face has Eugene. I'm sorry.
Eugene.
Sorry, Eugene. Eugene, you know, he's got that thing going on with his mouth. This girl's skull is missing. I'm like, what in the world is happening in this town?
we finally find out what happened to his
To the
face,
gun,
and
right.
he basically shot himself in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
so-
Can we talk about Cassidy there really quick? He saw him. He got so scared.
We can always talk about Cassidy.
He said that boy's face looks like an ass. He's dead. And then the baptism of Eugene, I was like, can he close his mouth?
No.
Isn't he gonna
No, he
drown?
full-on, like, had to
I
do
was like,
this and
he's
was
gonna
like,
drown.
Yeah, but he got baptized like this. Like, it was just like, it was just way too much. Anyway, you could tell that we absolutely enjoyed this episode. So we're going to take some questions from you, and we're going to take those in just a bit. But first, we're going to take a quick break. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Just in case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
Oh my God.
Figure that out.
High five.
They did what to me?
We had a crazy vampire threesome, and you can't unsee that. That's burned into my brain now.
I was like,
You know why we saying yes. You know why we saying yes. Look at me, I'm dancing.
He was like, yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want.
He is quite something.
And we're like, inseparable.
these hoes ain't loyal.
You just went to a totally different direction on that one.
I love it. That's genius.
Billionaire goes broke, it means he's got like $4 million.
This might actually be a thing.
Somebody better take some pictures of this.
Are we there yet? Can we talk about this?
We've been waiting all night.
I don't like to break nails.
You can't count anything out. It's been another awesome night at the Stream.tv, guys.
Thank you for joining us, you guys.
Hey, you guys, welcome back. Remember to subscribe to the Stream.tv for all your favorite after shows. We're all right here. This one's your favorite, though.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to go to some comments and see what people are thinking on the chat.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, we definitely read all of your YouTube comments, even after the fact. We even respond like days after the show. And so I just want to bring up a few things that a few of our viewers have said. XX Drev XX. He basically says, I'm not entirely sold on Tulip just yet. I don't know if introducing her, killing a bunch of people, and then being all smiles is what I want from her. We'll have to see where this is going. Well, we love Tulip, guys.
Yeah.
So
We love Tulip.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
She's got me. I mean, her character is just fun to me, and I know that she probably. I get what he's saying because she's definitely got some stuff going on. You know, some things that she's done, and we don't know that yet. But she's entertaining as
She made
hell.
a bazooka out of cans. How could you not like this
She
woman?
stabbed somebody with corn husks. Like, how
what?
can you not like this chick?
and she can play poker like a badass.
Yes.
She can.
So
we like Tulip.
we get what you're saying. We're reading your comments, but sorry guys, we're fans. We also had Shan for short. He basically last week we talked about that whole scene with Donnie's wife and whether or not she actually enjoyed the beating. And I think Jocelyn and I basically were like, oh yeah, we think she really likes it. And Tim was like, no. Shan for short said he'd agreed with Timmy. I think the boy's mother was being beaten and was trying to cover up for her husband when Jesse said he would go to the police. So, you know what? I actually ended up watching the episode again and watching it a second time. I could see, I saw your point.
Yeah,
So,
as soon as he brought
No,
up the
I agree with
police, she
that.
was like, oh, no, wait. No, I like it. I was like, girl, get a better story.
And you're right, and it did take a second time for me to watch it to see that, because at first I was like, no, what are you talking about? Like, but yeah, you're right. She doesn't like it, and you're good.
I
And
gotcha.
then we just have one last comment. Dan Dreheim, he says, I don't know anything about the comics, but I enjoyed the show. As far as revealing the comics info ahead of time, please don't turn into a Game of Thrones know-it-all. I think he means about us. Some of
okay.
the internet shows on Game of Thrones ruin the episodes by revealing too much, but so far, so good. So we did a good job.
We discussed that, but
Yes.
the three of us, we got together and we did discuss that. First
was
of
a
all,
staff meeting.
No, and I take a serious staff meeting, and I take responsibility for some of that too, because I got excited.
Yeah.
And I was just like, the comic, the show, and so it was just like, no, I don't want to spoil it, because I even said last week, I hate when people do that to
Yeah.
me, and so that done deal, we're good. We're not going to spoil it for you guys.
Yes,
No.
we're not talking about the comics anymore. Well, I mean,
Right.
as it rolls.
You know what we could do? If you guys read the comics and you guys want to chat us up about the comics, leave some comments on our YouTube channel. We can get all up in it on the comics with you guys.
Yeah.
We're just, just to have respect for other people who haven't read them yet. We're just
We're
not
going to keep
to.
it neutral here.
Yes.
Okay, so Tim, do we
Yes.
have anything else?
I have some awesome Twitter shout-outs. Tracy at Tracy003, thanks for tuning in. Brian Hayes at BP Hayes, thank you for tuning in. And Ashley McGee, who's a blogger, her hashtag is at Squealing Nerd. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Really appreciate it. I do have one question, though. That I wanted to bring up, because in this episode it was pretty much Jesse kind of realizing his power of like having this influence over people. What would you guys do if you had that amount of power?
Oh my
That's
God.
a good question.
Like, would you use it for like selfish means? I know, and be honest, because I mean, we would all like to say, oh no, I would try to establish world peace.
I'm gonna give a very honest answer. I am. I'm gonna give very honest.
She's gonna go right into Louis Vuitton and get all the shoes.
I'm gonna give an honest answer because I think that I'm gonna fall right down the middle. I think that for the most part, I'm gonna use it for good because that's just an amazing power to be blessed with. So for the most part, it's gonna be for good. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't gonna use some of that to get my way on certain situations.
Okay. Yeah, I'll agree with Jocelyn on that. And if you guys know me at all, I am like the biggest hippie. And I'm like, oh, be kind to everyone. So yeah, I think that I would definitely use it for good. But there's going to be like that 1 or 2 moments where that person at Starbucks is being an ass. And I'm like, listen to me, move over. So yeah, I might just a tad here.
I think I would really have to kind of watch what I say because I'm pretty sure everybody would be killing themselves in Los Angeles. Because as soon as somebody pisses me off, I'd be like, "Go kill yourself," and then go and do it. I'd be like, "Oh wait, I didn't mean it like that." So yeah, I think with that you really have to like watch what you say. So I'm interested in seeing what Jesse does with it and the battle that he has with this all of this power. And if you guys have any comments about what you guys would do with it, let us know.
Yeah, let us know and tweet us and let us know what you would do with that power. That's a great conversation starter.
I just have to say one last thing before we wrap up. You guys,
Before we what?
Before we wrap up. under my breath. If you guys, I know you guys have been watching the director's commentary, but I highly suggest to our
Yes.
viewers, please watch the director's commentary that you can catch on AMC.com
Yeah.
or on the AMC
With
app.
Seth Rogen and
Oh, they are hilarious.
Yeah.
And tonight they were talking, or on last week's episode, they were talking about how Dominic Cooper's hair is just perfect. I think Dominic Cooper is just perfect in general. Yes.
You want to talk about Emily liking the preacher? This one over here is all about him.
Well, that's why we don't like Emily. Okay, you guys. All right, so tweet us all throughout the week. We're going to be around. You can see we love to talk about this show, so make sure that you tweet us. Use the hashtag PreacherAS. I was about to say hashtag @PreacherAS. But use the hashtag PreacherAS. Also, you can follow us on Preacher Fan Show. I have to get it right. You can also follow us on @Preacher Fan Show, and then you can follow us individually. We're going to be back next week. And also, big thing. Join the fan group on Facebook. It's the Preacher fan group on Facebook. We want you to join. We just post a lot of different things and have a great conversation. And so join us there. We would love it. Yes, so we'll be back next week for another episode of Preacher. And we want you guys to have a wonderful week and be good. And let the church say,
Amen.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Oh my gosh, so much fun.